Did you guys see this? Julius Malema, he lets us know what he thinks about that meeting. He posted this on X. A group of older men meet in Washington to discuss gossip about me. No significant amount of intelligent evidence has been produced about why.tte. We will not agree to compromise our political principles on land expropriation without compensation for political expediency. And you can see in that meeting, they were playing videos of him, they were calling him out by name. He then posted this: "You will never put a good man down. I will never be defined by my enemies, but by my loyalty to the cries of our people. You will never kill the idea whose time has come. Kill me now, cowards." And you can see the photo he posted. What do you guys think about this? They were mentioning Malema's name left and right at that meeting, but Malema brought up a good point. He didn't see any intelligent evidence of this white G-side. He says that he stands for the cries of his people, so he'll always put his people first. Let me know what you guys think about this. Comment.
I saw the meeting that President Donald Trump had with the South African president, and it was interesting to say the least. I don't know where President Donald Trump is getting his information from, but he is convinced that all the media that he's seen around white South African farmers being is just like the absolute truth. And I'm not saying countries don't have propaganda and don't manipulate media, but the South African president was just like, bro, that's not true. Well, he didn't say that's not true. What he said was farmers are getting, no matter what their race is. So it's just, it's odd that you're focused on the white farmers, but it's like we have a problem with farmers being like, people take land in South Africa. It don't matter what race you are. But President Donald Trump was not hearing. He had articles printed up. He even stopped the meeting to play some video. I couldn't see the video from my angle, but I heard it, and I know what video he was playing because I've seen that video. He was playing when some leader was singing that song, that South African song. They talk about the farmer and the boer and all that. Then he also showed a clip of the cars lined up riding past the white crosses that's been on social media. And people saying those are the white farmers that have been. And it was funny because the South African president was like, where is that? I've never seen that. And President Trump was like, oh, yeah, that's the spot where, they buried all the white farmers and they go to appreciate them. They line up. And the South African president was like, I have no idea where that is. He was like, yeah, team. He's like, when we go back home, let's get on that. Let's find out where this place is. And President Donald Trump is just convinced that he's showing the president of South Africa more about his country than he knows. Oh, my God. I applaud the president of South Africa's decorum during that meeting because he was so patient with President Donald Trump and saying, like, look here. At this point, I don't care what you believe. Let's just find a way to work together, to be partners, and and get along, trade, do whatever we got to do to be partners. Like, believe what you want to believe, bro. I'm here to work. I don't know about you. Oh, man, that meeting was way funnier than it should have been.
All right, let's just talk about what really went down with President Trump when he met with South African President Ramaphosa. Trump didn't hold back. He confronted Ramaphosa in the Oval Office with a video showing anti-white rhetoric, including Julius Malema shouting "unalive the board," and the claim that white South African farmers were being systematically targeted and unalive, something Trump referred to as white genocide. Now, we're not going to pretend that some Africans in South Africa aren't violent, because crime there is very real, just like it is in every part of the world. But let's also not act like some white South Africans didn't steal land through colonialism and apartheid. Both sides have dirt, and that's the truth. Ramaphosa pushed back. He made it clear that violent crime affects everyone, black, white, and in between. He said the government land reform plan isn't about targeting white farmers. It's about correcting deep historical injustices. And that's fair to acknowledge too. But here's the truth. Trump cannot save the entire world. Yes, he should try to work with South Africa for peace and cooperation, but America has serious issues here at home. Our border is still in a frenzy. Our economy is shaky. Crime is rising in our own cities. So before we try to play the hero on the world stage, we better make sure our own house is in order. This was a high-stakes meeting with real tension, but also a reminder, and let's just face the truth, not just the parts that fit your favorite side narrative. Now, the media is saying that Trump is racist, but there was no racism. Both leaders met, they disagreed, and they will work it out. That's what strong leadership looks like.
There's claims that each cross on either side of the road represent people who were murdered in farm attacks. That's not the case. The organizers, who the Institute for Race Relations spoke to at the time, said they were merely just trying to raise awareness. And those crosses were just trying to raise attention as to the plight of farm workers and the dangerous conditions they live in. But our crime stats clearly show that there's no white genocide happening in South Africa, and specifically targeting farmers. Last year, in the third quarter of 2024, 12 farm murders were committed in South Africa, and these were farm workers as well. Of those 12, and bearing in mind that 7,000 people were murdered in the third quarter of 2024, only one was a farm owner. The rest were farm workers, the rest were people who lived on small holdings and rural areas that can be considered as farm holdings. It must also be noted that President Donald Trump held up a number of articles claiming to show white genocide happening in South Africa. Some of these articles weren't even from South African media or reputable media houses in South Africa. One article we looked at was published from the DRC. It didn't have anything to do with South Africa. South Africa's got a crime problem. We don't have a farm murder problem. And that's the truth.
Now, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, Africans. Right now, I am in the African savannah. You can see I'm surrounded by so many trees. Yes. Now, I did a video, and it's some videos are trending online about Trump and the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa. Many of these African Americans, black people around the world have reacted, and they have shown solitude, they have shown positivity, they have shown uniformity as well in defending the South African president Cyril Ramaphosa. You understand that even the white people are saying there isn't white genocide. And the narrative is just being falsely pushed by Elon Musk and his best friend Trump, the billionaires, There has to be something that they are gaining by lying to the communities and by saying that there is white genocide. There is no, even those Afrikaners themselves are saying there is no white genocide. And so black people are reacting and they're sharing their thoughts about their concerns. I want us to listen to what these black people are saying, and then I shall come back, get back to you, and give you my thoughts as well, and have a deep critical analysis. Yes, Africa is king.
I just got finished watching the South African president and the president of the United States sit in the Oval Office and talk things through, okay? Now, the real meeting, okay, so they had two different reasons for the meeting, okay? Trump wanted to talk about the stuff that's happening, that he believes is happening to the Afrikaners in South Africa, okay? And the South African president, he wanted to talk about building relations as far as business and technology, and to help provide more jobs to South Africa and things of that nature, because he believes that's the root of the problem. That's what South Africa was coming to talk about, and they're coming to talk about relations. But as the meeting went on, Trump pulled out these big, thick printouts from all over the web. You could tell it was the web, okay? So anybody can write whatever, right? But it was the web, and about farm attacks on Afrikaners in South Africa, right? Which is why they're fleeing. He said, this is what the meeting is about. So Trump had a whole other thing in mind, right? And so then there was this big screen, like this widescreen TV in there, and they showed two groups. But I'm more familiar with Malema, right? And how what they were saying on the microphone and against the Afrikaners. But yeah, they were showcasing stuff that was backing up Trump's claim that Afrikaners were a target in South Africa, okay? And he asked the South African president, he said, why haven't you arrested Malema? for saying the things that he says. This was the clapback. This was clapback moment number one. Okay. But the South African president didn't come prepared. Okay. To clap back. Okay. Because he would have clapped back. Because all he could have said was the same way you don't arrest the Triple K in your nation. It's called freedom of speech. We got freedom of speech over there too. The same way you pardoned everyone on January 6th. We ain't gonna talk about that, are we? Even though they had the whole guillotine out there for somebody that ran with you called Pence, the vice president. We ain't gonna talk about that. You see, that's the clapback. So as the meeting went on and everything, right? It was more the South African president trying to keep a lid on things. Because I think in the back of his mind, he knew that it could erupt if he said the wrong thing. So I think he came prepared to say what he wanted to say without it erupting. But he had other people speak, and the majority of people who spoke in there on the South African side were Afrikaners or a white South African man. Okay. Okay, so, and here's point number 2, okay? When he was like, we have to get this fixed. Why aren't you fixing this? Why aren't you fixing this? Blah, blah, blah. This is what the administration was saying. And my thing is this. Why didn't... There was a lot of ways you could come at this. And I'm assuming the South African president just didn't want to, tell the complete and whole truth. Because all he had to do was say... Why haven't I gotten a handle on my issue is because the same reason why you hadn't gotten a handle on your issue. In these schools with them pew-pews. Same reason why you hadn't gotten a handle on it. Matter of fact, do you need our help? Because, while you helping us, we can help you get all these pew-pews off the street too. Here's the one thing that really got me. When one of those guys, one of the Afrikaners were talking, they were like, T wrongs. Well, I know I grew up under apartheid, and but 2 wrongs don't make a right. And that's the thing I don't like. It's because y'all act like y'all don't have to repair nothing. You do. You do. Because the land that you actually want, most of it was stolen. So give it back. And all of the land has not been given back. That's fact 1. And that's all they had to say. That's all the president had to say. But excuse me, most of that land was stolen, Mr. President. So if someone steals something from you, if we're going to give it back, we got to give it back. Correct? So that's what we're doing. And some people don't want to get up off it. So that's what's going on. That's how you're supposed to talk. That's how you're supposed to talk over here. Ain't no... No. No, because they're not about to laugh with you. So, bottom line, how do I think the meeting went? I think the meeting was garbage, really. Nothing was really done. I think the meeting was just for show. Yeah. I think it was garbage and nothing really got handled because the first thing that should have been said, I believe, from the South African president's mouth is what the majority of South African people are saying, white and black, is that it's a lie. There is no G word going on in South Africa. Okay. And number 2, just like in your country, we have the freedom to say what we want to say. And if Malema says what he says or whatever like that, it's just like it's the equivalent of what someone else may say in your following over here in the United States of America that you might, some other people might take offense to. Okay. And as far as all those newspaper clippings and stuff like that, I'd have been like, okay, well, let me show you. I'd have pointed to my homeboy on the couch that wasn't doing nothing. Start looking up all the clips real quick of all the black South Africans. Okay, that have gotten taken out. Okay, by the hands of. Okay, that's what I would have been like. Because what you're not going to do is hand me no internet files. Put them in my freaking hand like I'm supposed to read them. Them suckers would have been landed clean on the floor. But that's why I would have got loads of ratings. If I went to the you on a showdown, baby. We about to have a showdown for show enough. But yeah, nothing happened. Nothing happened. It's gonna be the same old. But I do believe that based on this meeting, they are going to plan something for South Africa, and it's going to be for the good of those who once ruled in apartheid. If they don't watch it.
You want to see something ridiculous and somebody who doesn't have a real answer to something shady that he's doing? Watch this clip from Donald Trump.
I think a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about? You know, what are you talking about? You know, you to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the United States Air Force a jet, okay? And it's a great thing. We're talking about a lot of other things. It's NBC trying to get off the subject of what you just saw. You are a real, you're a terrible reporter. Number one, you don't have what it takes to be a reporter. You're not smart enough. But for you to go into a subject about a jet that was given to the United States Air Force, which is a very nice thing. They also gave $5.1 trillion worth of investment in addition to the jet. Go back, you ought to go back to your studio at NBC because Brian Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions from you. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Number one, so he doesn't have a real answer, so he attacks the reporter and the news organization. Very typical of Donald Trump. And he knows that plane is not going to go. That plane, it may go to the Pentagon initially. But trust me, and I want you to play this back for me if I'm wrong. Right after, when he is gone from office, that plane is going with him. And that will be the new Trump Force One. That will be Donald Trump's plane that he rides around on after he's president. Mark my words. That's why he doesn't have an answer. He wants a plane for himself. He is a fucking grifter.
And the problem in South Africa, it is not necessarily about race, but it is about crime. And we think that we are here to say, how do we, both nations, work together to reset, to really talk about investment, but also help us in how we can have the technology and everything that is needed, President, to really address the levels of crime that we have in our country.
As bad as you think this might have looked, the reaction in South Africa is actually quite different. People are relieved that things did not go off the rails for President Ramaphosa in the White House. We have to remember that the bar has been set pretty low.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
There was a real fear, given the tensions that had been growing between South Africa and the United States over a number of issues. This could just go in a really bad way for President Ramaphosa. On some levels it did, but for the most part, because that bar had been set so low, at home, President Ramaphosa has been kind of getting praise for holding his cool, holding his own, in the face of provocation. We're hearing from sources which so far tend to be South African that the private meetings went a lot better than what we saw on TV. Remember, the South Africans came to really push for, a better bilateral trade deal, given the announcements by President Trump. They wanted to reset their relationship with the United States, but their real focus was on trade. A deal could be announced in the next 24, 48 hours, or we might hear nothing. That is what they came for. That's what they would call genuine success, because many of the issues that South Africa actually faces with the United States are not the kinds of things that get solved in a quick meeting. These are things that are tied to deeply held principles that they've had since the end of apartheid. The critics will say some of this stuff, it has moved on, or they should
find a way to adapt it to the real world in which we all find ourselves. But at the same time, they have every right as a sovereign nation to follow whatever principles their leaders believe in.
President Trump finally had a meeting with the president of South Africa, and he showed him some documents showing evidence of Geno.cide in South Africa. He showed this image of this article. Now, if you search this article and look at the image, that image is actually from a different region of Africa. You don't know where it's from? Have a look. It's an image showing the Democratic Republic of Congo, a region President Trump doesn't even know. He's like, the Congo, what is that? He said that a few months ago, remember? A region he doesn't care about. A region actually going through it, and that's been going through it for decades. Now, granted, this could be an AI image. You may not have been holding that, so fair enough. But it looks like an article. Now, if you zoom in, it mentions tribalism and Africa, which I understand, yes, Africa does have tribalism. But what does that have to do with the supposed Geno.cide of the Afrikaners, the Boers, the Dutch? I mean, he's showing images from articles online. What proof are those articles showing? Then he got asked, he showed Ramaphosa a video. Yeah, then Ramaphosa asked him, where exactly is this in South Africa? He's like, oh, I don't know. So, I mean, it's not funny, but damn, man. Now, granted, South Africa, though it's nicknamed the Rainbow Nation, isn't really a Rainbow Nation. Yeah, there's a lot of problems in that nation. One of them being crime. South Africa has a high crime rate. So much crime that the private security sector is huge in South Africa, and it's one of the biggest in the world. Yeah, because the police are unable to take care of crime. Now, the crime is affecting most people on the nation. Yeah, mostly black people. Now, I'm not saying white people aren't affected. Of course they are affected. So if you do see white people getting unalived, getting attacked and so on, it's not just because, oh, it's a calculated Geno.cide. No, it's just the crime rates. South Africa needs help. South Africa has corruption, which needs to be addressed. Unfortunately, many people aren't addressing that. Personally, I think Trump should just be honest. Yeah, you're giving the Afrikaners refuge because of this dude. Yeah, this is the way he was looking at Ramaphosa. Man was looking at him like he was gonna do something. Like, I was like, go do something there. Go do something. You're gonna do nothing. But he's still dangerous. This dude is dangerous. Yeah, he has a lot of influence on Trump. He's the one that started this whole situation, this whole stuff. This is about money. This is about politics. And this is about his family history. He's from apartheid South Africa, after all. So yeah, just be honest. You gave the Afrikaners refuge because they're white. But the DRC, an image you're showing from the DRC, you don't care. You don't even know where the DRC is. You don't care about them because they're black. Just be honest. Yeah? Many Trump supporters these days are being honest. Not all of them, of course, but many of them are talking about black fatigue. You're tired of people who look like me, of course. Just be honest. Just tell the truth. Yeah? Tell the truth and move on. Yeah? If you do that, I'm pretty sure your supporters will rate you even more. But the rest of the world, I don't know, we will look at you as we're looking at you now, because it's pretty obvious what's going on here. It's like, it's not about that color. No, it is. Yeah? You wouldn't expedite someone from Congo in refuge, even though they're going through it. So why are you doing it for them? Yeah, exactly.
Trump steady trying to embarrass these presidents. You can't do the South African president like you did the Ukrainian president. It got turned up in that Oval Office, okay? And it's annoying, like, we bringing these presidents here just so that we can embarrass them and insult their presidency? For what? You're just trying to push your racist agenda. Refugees only for white South Africans. We're not stupid. We don't believe it. I mean, us as Americans, we just don't got no power to change it. But, like, we're not stupid. At least I'm not stupid.
So the current occupant of the White House, the Oval Office, is meeting with the president of South Africa right now. The president of South Africa came out and said, I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to offer you. Wow. And the current occupant of the Oval Office came back and stated, if you had a plane to offer me, I would accept it. I would take it. Wow. What is this showing the American people? What is this showing you guys? The ones that voted this way. What is this showing you guys? This don't bother y'all in the least? That he came out and said that if you had multi-million-dollar plane to offer me to the South African president, that I would accept it? This don't bother y'all at all? Unbelievable.
Met with South African President Ramaphosa. Sounds really close to Omarosa, so I almost didn't meet with him, but he's a good guy. He's no Omarosa. He also said he didn't have a plane to give me, which I'm starting to think that I might make that a criteria. If you want to talk to me, you gotta have a plane. You gotta have a plane to give me. And then I showed him photos and documentaries, and there's a bunch of crosses on the side of the road, and he said, he's never seen those before. Where is it? I said, they're in your country. You don't even know where they are, and they're in your country? I don't know how much I can trust this guy. He doesn't know what's going on in his own country. He didn't bring me a plane. And we're taking thousands and thousands of refugees from his country who are fleeing persecution on their farms. But these are the kinds of refugees that I like. And they're more than welcome to come into our country as we deport the ones we don't like.
After making unsubstantiated claims about white genocide in South Africa in front of the president of South Africa, Donald Trump snaps and goes off on, I would say, an unhinged rant and confessing to crimes he would like to commit.
Heads chopped off. They died violently. And, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved here. But I will say this, that if the news wasn't fake, like NBC, which is fake news, totally, one of the worst, ABC, NBC, CBS, horrible. But if they weren't fake news like this jerk that we have here, if we had real reporters, they'd be covering it. But the fake news in this country doesn't talk about that. They don't want to talk about it, but now they have to talk about it. But they won't. This won't even be a subject. They'll have him talking about why did a country give a free, think of this, why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay? The United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force, so they could help us out, because we need an Air Force One until that's Air Force One, it's being built. 2 of them being built. But Boeing's a little bit late, unfortunately. So why did they give us a plane to the United States Air Force? That's what that idiot talks about after viewing a thing where thousands of people are dead.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
Okay. Wow. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about, and talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are problems.
And this is precisely what we would also like to talk about, including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
Those are all recent. And those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should say you are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that
I've never seen so much disrespect coming from the President of the United States in my life. It's almost as if something about South Africa brings the worst out of him. Spreading baseless claims about genocide and running around accepting bribes, or basically suggesting that you would accept bribes, is totally un-American, and I don't understand how his supporters can continue to allow this type of behavior to become status.
If you don't think Donald Trump is racist, then you did not just witness what happened between him and the South African president in the Oval Office while they were supposed to be discussing coming together on a bill. Donald Trump never gave a fuck about Gaza. He never gave a fuck about you. So for everybody who said, oh my goodness, we are voting for him because Joe Biden allowed a mass genocide to happen. Donald Trump just asked the South African president in the Oval Office why he allowed white refugees to go through a genocide in South Africa. Do you know how fucking crazy that is? The same white refugees he brought here to take all the farmland that the government seized that have no farming skills. Same immigrants from Africa that their entire lineage is known for killing Africans to take their land.
Yeah, he just asked the president of South Africa, the black president, why he allowed them to experience a genocide and confronted him on a genocide in South Africa. That is not fucking happening, by the way. It's not happening. So for everyone who's like, oh, well, why would we vote for Biden? And did he ask the leader of Israel why he's encouraging a genocide? Or seizing the Gaza Strip? Or unaliving thousands of people daily? No, but he asked in the name of white refugees. Okay, what fucking timeline are we in? What fucking timeline are we in that our president is ignoring having parts in a war that has actively been an actual genocide, but instead turned to racism and these white refugees who literally are descendants of some of the worst racists in the world, and asked their president why he'd allowed them to experience genocide? That didn't happen. I need to get the fuck out of this place. I need to get out of this place. We're doomed. We're going the wrong way.
Now, after clearly watching these videos, and it's very disappointing to see an African president, being roasted in front of the rest of the world, in fact, it is a false accusation. Anytime an African leader tries to defend his people, anytime an African leader tries to speak for his community, he is always roasted by the Western media. He is often roasted by the West. But in this specific instance, Cyril Ramaphosa became smart. He didn't just speak anyhow. He didn't get angry. He handled the situation as a man, Is there a way Cyril Ramaphosa is different from our guy from Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore? No, they share a similarity in this instance and specific context, that they were defending their people, and in defending their people, they have been banished by the West. The West, in this case, the United States of America, and the coming together of black people around the world and defending their fellow black people is a good sign. It's a positive sign to the black community. I'm so much amazed by how black Americans have shown their support, by how the black diaspora have also shown their support concerning this situation. Yes, it's so much beautiful, it's so much engaging. Do share your thoughts. Let's hear what you think. Yeah.